Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the Zero Tolerance 0562 tie. As the name would indicate, it is part of the 0562 family, which is a Rick Hinderer design, collaboration with Zero Tolerance. It is based shape-wise not so loosely on the XM18 3.5 inch. As far as construction-wise, I would say it's based fairly loosely on it, but shape-wise, very, very similar. It's using a version of the slicer grind that Hinderer uses. If you are fans of Hinderer knives, you know there are several different grinds he uses. You have the slicer, this one, which is probably the most popular. You have the Spanto, which is what you see like on the 0393, which we'll see that again in a moment. You have the Skinner, the Warney, there's a whole bunch of them. But this is based on the slicer grind because it's one of the more popular ones. As the name would indicate, this is a tie handle. Other versions of this, and it is the newest one. Other versions include, they've made a carbon fiber version for several years, which used to be on 390, now it's 20 CV. Same steel this is rocking, with a carbon fiber scale. That's about $240. You have a G10 version with S35 VN steel, that's $200. But this is the Mac Daddy at $280. With a very skeletonized, and I don't think it's going to show it well here in the camera. We're going to try, but a very skeletonized liner up here. It's actually so skeletonized, even though this is full titanium, it weighs like depending on which version you have, about a quarter, half an ounce lighter than the carbon fiber version. So that's pretty impressive. Pretty cool they got that. And we're going to do a teardown video of this later. Between Christmas and New Year's, I'm going to do some teardown videos because you guys keep asking for those, and this is one of them I'm going to do. I have taken this apart, but I just took it apart, looked around, put it back together. I'm going to do like a full, service on it, and you look to see that the scale's more in there, but pretty freaking impressive how much this thing is milled out. It's a lot of work put into it. I can see why it cost $280. Let's do some stats and some size comparisons, and then we will move on. You have an overall length of 8¼ inches, blade length 3.5, blade thickness 0.16 inches, handle thickness, I got it at dead on 0.5 inches, and a weight I got of 5.4 ounces. So not too bad for a full titanium knife of this size, because not only is it a 3.5 inch blade, but it's pretty thick. As we're going to see, nice segue into some size comparisons. We have your Spyderco Paramilitary 2, one of our standards. Just a little bit longer than a PM2, not dramatically so. You have your Benchmade 940. It does kind of dwarf the 940. It's a little bit longer and definitely a lot thicker than the 940. You have your Ontario Rat Model 1. It's a little bit shorter than the Rat Model 1. I'm trying to line up the pivots here. Yeah, a little bit shorter. Not dramatically so. Another one that I'm going to wind up, I think, putting in the standards, because I know a lot of you guys have snapped them up from the comments and stuff, and it's going to be a thing for a while now, the Kershaw Bare Knuckle. Just a little bit longer in the handle than the Bare Knuckle, but about the same blade length. Actually, I know from stats in my head it is the same blade length. And lastly, another ZT Hinderer, the 0393. This is the Stonewash Sprint Run, but the regular one is exactly the same size. So very, very similar in size to the 0393 in a whole lot of ways. It's still a bit beefier than the 0393 is, though, like the handle and stuff like that. Now let's talk more specifically about this knife. We've talked a bit about how it looks, but I do really like the looks of it. I think it looks great. I think this is really nice looking deep carry clip. I like the black hardware. I don't think they've gone too nuts with the billboarding. Just ZT on there. The usual stuff you're always going to see on any Kai knife. That's fine. I'm so used to it that I don't even see it anymore. And then just a little serial number there. I don't know if they're always going to do that, or if it's just for the first run or something like that. But I have a lot of ZTs that have that on there, so kind of thinking maybe they're just always going to do that. Yeah, because that's definitely, well, that's a sprint run, so that doesn't count. But let's look at, yeah, this definitely isn't. This was from the second or third run. Yeah, and here it just says CPM 20 CV, so I don't know. Oh, it does have a serial number still. Yeah, I think they're always going to put that information on there somewhere. That was a brief appearance of an 0470, by the way. I like the look of it a lot. Yes, it is plain. It is quote-unquote Brian spec, but it is an endlessly modifiable knife. You're definitely going to be able to anodize it super easy if you want to do that. Some of the hinderer little bits fit. I know the pivots don't, but you get the little disc and stuff like that. There's little bits you can do to modify it and make it look cool. I think it looks cool as it is. I'm not going to touch it. I mean, I had an idea to maybe anodize it blue or something, but I don't think I will. I do believe, don't quote me on this, I do believe the hinderer standoffs fit, but I'm not certain about that. So again, don't quote me on that, but I think they do. Somebody can put down in the comments, I'm sure will correct me and say if they do or do not. The blade, obviously, always one of the most important parts of the knife. 20 CV steel. And you can't say anything bad about that. ZT does a great job with it. It's an analog to M390. Pretty much the best you can get. So steel, thumbs up. As far as its sliciness, thickness behind the edge is not as awesome as I had hoped, but it's what I expected, I guess. I was hoping maybe I'd be surprised and it would be really, really super thin behind the edge, but that's not the way of the Hinderer ZTs or the Hinderers themselves. About 28 thousandths behind the edge back here, slacking down to like 25, 26 up towards the tip. It is 16, it's and it's 0.16, blade thickness. So it's not a slicing machine. It's completely fine though. It works great. It works well, I should say. It doesn't work great. It works well. I definitely have knives that are better slicers. PM2 is probably a little bit better than this, but not dramatically so. It's okay, but it's the grind is meant more for slightly harder use. Not necessarily bad to have a knife around in your collection that's meant for a bit harder use. So I'm not really that bothered by it, and it made up for it in two ways. One of it's screaming sharp out of the box. ZT does such a good job this year, anyway. I do admit, 2017 I had a couple ZTs. My 801 and my 0450 weren't that sharp out of the box. They were okay, but they weren't that great. At the time I thought they were great, but once I learned more, I realized they weren't really that great. This is great. This is really, really good. And every ZT I've had this year, my 0609, the 0470, the 0393, you just saw that they were all really, really good. Screaming sharp, which helps out a lot. And also, it does have, I love the tip on this thing. I'm not going to pry anything with it because it's $280, but I do like knowing that I could if I wanted to. Like, you could open a paint can lid with that thing with no problem whatsoever. That's kind of cool. I do really like that. So I still really like the blade. No, is it the slicest thing in the world? No, it is not. But I still think it's a pretty great blade. Pretty happy with it. Ergonomically, extremely happy with it. I had never even held, so I knocked this thing out of the way. I had never even held an 0562 before. I had owned a 3-inch XM18, but I hadn't even held a 3.5-inch XM18. This is just great. It does have some finger grooves. Some people really hate finger grooves. They hit my fingers just fine, but even if they don't, they're not extreme in any way, and they're very well chamfered off and stuff. I don't think you're even going to notice them, but they hit my fingers perfectly. Feel really locked in. That jimping is just right where I want it to be, just right where my finger lands. Again, I have large size hands, skinny fingers. Just ergonomically, it's just excellent. This pocket clip, I honestly, I don't even feel that it's there at all, no matter how hard I squeeze the knife. Ergonomically, this thing is just a masterpiece. I really like it, and it is designed for some harder use, and it's built for it. I feel like I could use this thing all day long, and my hand wouldn't get cramped or get a hot spot or anything. I think it would be great. Awesome job ergonomically. Just fantastic. Some things are so good, there's not much more to say than that it's just fantastic. Carry, let's get into that. As I said, it does have a reversible clip, which is really nice, so lefties don't have to cry too much. And then we have our beat up Wranglers here, slide in the pocket. The only detriment I have with it, carry wise, is so you have this cutout for the lock bar. Often see it caught again there. It just catches again there, and you gotta push it twice. It's not a big thing. I don't think it's going to destroy pants or anything like that, but I noticed it when I put it in there. But once it's in, it's in. That's deep carry as deep carry can be. You can't see anything. It is a fairly wide or fairly tall knife in the pocket, so it's not bad. The pocket pecker, the little flipper tab. Sorry, didn't mean to use Nick Shabazz's trademark phrase, but it is there, but it's not horrible at all. It kind of reminded me a lot, honestly, of carrying like a PM2 in your pocket. If you carry PM2 and that doesn't bother you, this isn't going to bother you either. And 5.4 ounces, 5.4 ounces. It's not a lightweight, but it ain't too bad. I can deal with that. I can handle 5.4 ounces. It's once you get up to 6.2, I start looking for other stuff. Deployment wise, you just heard it. It is excellent. The detent is perfect. It's just outstanding again. And I have not lubed this. I did tear it apart and put it back together, but I didn't do anything to it. I like this sound too. Makes that little musical thing when the detent, sucks it in. I like that. And I thought it was unique to this. I thought, it's probably just because of how milled out the scale is that it's probably making an echo. But I talked to my buddy who has a carbon fiber one of the carbon fiber M390s, and I made him listen to it over the phone, and he goes, oh no, mine sounds exactly the same way. And he made me listen to his over the phone, and it does sound exactly the same way. Exactly the same, I should say. But it doesn't always make that noise. If you're holding it like this, it doesn't make the noise. I guess it still kind of did that way. But it depends on how you're holding it. Sometimes it makes the noise, sometimes it doesn't. But the detent is outstanding. The flipper tab is great. It's comfortable. It's super reliable to deploy. It does have these little thumb studs, but as I said, they are more travel stops. But you can make them work. I think I can. I did before. Yeah, there you go. But they're not really meant for it. They're really just travel stops. But you can make them work if you want. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world. But if you just use the flipper as the good Lord intended, it'll be fine. Or I shouldn't say as Rick Hinderer intended. It's fine. Overall, that just brings me to my conclusions, which is I love this knife. I really do. If you guys have been following the Hinderer saga of my life, I did buy a 3-inch XM18. Really liked it. Kind of felt like I should have gotten the 3.5. I did sell it. And I was debating between buying one of these or buying a full-on 3.5-inch Hinderer. This is brand new. It just came out. As I was debating, this came out. So I decided, it's brand new. It'll be a good review. I'll get that. And you know what? It's satisfied my Jones for a little while. I'm not going to say that I would unequivocally that ZT makes better Hinderers than Hinderers. I don't think that's fair anymore. Hinderer has made a whole lot of changes over the last couple of years, and they're all good ones. And Hinderer makes a damn fine product. But the price difference is like, $165 between this and a real Hinderer. And this is pretty darn good. It satisfied my Jones for a bit. It's also satisfied my Jones for a big ZT. It missed my 801 tie, my 0801 tie. I've been missing that recently. And I thought, I do kind of miss having a big clunky ZT around, and this is great. And speaking of big clunky ZT, this is my favorite thing about this knife. And I hope you guys stuck around long enough for this, because it's probably the most important thing for me personally. The 801 was just a bit too heavy, a bit too big. I've had other knives that were that I thought I would love. My Riot New Torrent, my Wee Wasabi. In the end, I sold them because they were just a bit too big. What I love about this knife is this is the absolute to the millimeter and to the gram, the most I want to carry. They nailed it. They made the biggest knife that I want to carry. I just feel like it's the perfect fit. It's the biggest I'm ever going to want to carry. If it was a 1/4 inch longer in any dimension and, ½ an ounce heavier, I probably would be selling it. But I'm not, because they they feel it's like eating a meal where you're really full and you're really satisfied, but you haven't eaten too much. That's exactly what this knife is to me, is the perfect size meal. And I really like it. Is it something I'm going to carry every day? No, because some days I do want something lighter than this. But this is, for me personally, the biggest thing I'd EDC. So I really do like it. They nailed my taste with it. Disappointed I didn't try one before. That's the only really downside I have to this knife. So should have tried an 0562 before. Probably would have owned one a long time ago. But I'm glad this one's out. So everybody's been begging for the full tie version. Now we got it. So good job, ZT. Very happy with this. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Have a good one. I've been Brian.